Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to AirWAVs. This is Zach Hubeck with Wave LLC, the Vice President of Sales and Marketing. I hope everyone listening on the line is doing great today. I have just an absolutely awesome session here today. It is May 7th, 2021, and today's session is all about the wellness office, school, hotel with Cambium Networks and augmented radar. We've got two great technologists on the phone and folks I've known for several years, and I'm very much looking forward to this session. So to back it out just one moment, this session is all about we're in this kind of sunsetting phase of the pandemic with COVID-19. There's ample vaccinations out there, and it is now time to start gathering again. We're starting to see sporting events filling up at 25% capacity, restaurants at 50%. And today is all about how do we leverage technology to keep our patrons, our staff, our employees, and the people we love and keep near and dear to our hearts safe out there by leveraging great, awesome technology. And so today on the phone with me, I've got Daran Hermans from Cambium Networks and Ted Watson from Augmented Radar. Gentlemen, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, Zach, and glad to be a part of this project.
Awesome. Ted, hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Zach, I'm doing great, and thanks for having both Daran and I. It's exciting times, crazy times, and look forward to having a conversation on how hopefully we can help us through these times.
Absolutely. Well, let's go and start with introductions. I'll start with Daran first. So who are you? What company do you work for? If it's not obvious with a logo in the background.
Yeah.
And then what is your role at the company?
Got the big words right over my head. It reminds me who I work for. I just look over there, over my shoulder. I work for Cambium Networks. I'm a product manager with our enterprise wireless group. And so I've been involved in wireless network designs, deployments for, boy, it's been a pretty good chunk of time, probably about 17 years. I've been a product manager for most of that time. And so I'm glad to be at Cambium and helping people understand how enterprise networks are changing.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, Ted, same question over to you, sir. Who are you?
I am Ted Watson. I'm running sales and business development at a little company called Augmented Radar Imaging. I've been here about 7 months, and I joined this company because I was actually following one of the founders who was also one of the founders at Ruckus Wireless, whom many of you know out there as well. So Victor Strom founded Augmented Radar Imaging, ARI, and I've been brought along for the ride, and we're having a great time with it.
Beautiful. Love it. Well, good. Well, guys, getting right into the questions, and I'm as excited as anyone to get back to my family, my coworkers, the office being at 1/64th the capacity it was from February 2020 to March 2020. It was just quite a big culture shock for many. And it's time, as I described, we're seeing COVID kind of sunset, if you will, a plethora of vaccinations out there. Are there any leading or lagging indicators you're both watching that demonstrate we're trending towards a return to our pre-pandemic state in our everyday lives? Why don't we start with Ted on that question, sir?
A lot of things are happening. I think one of the most exciting things that are happening is we're starting to understand a lot more about what COVID-19 means. I don't think that there's ever going to be a pre-pandemic normal that we're ever going to go back to. I think this is kind of something that's, obviously affected the world, kind of like 9/11 affected us here in America. It's a wake-up call, and we're going to have to live with a new normal. And I think, the conversation today is a bit of a discussion about what that new normal means. So I'm really excited. We're getting vaccinations out there. We're understanding more about the viruses and how things are moved around and how to sort of mitigate some of the challenges. But we also know that there's a lot of things we don't know, and we're going to have to figure out how to live with that moving forward.
Got it. Daran, how about you, sir?
Traffic gridlock.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm not getting out that much myself. I'm not going into the office. I'm quite content doing this work here. Working wherever I'm at that's my enterprise right there. But actually, a good leading indicator that I'm seeing a lot of is the requests for information that we get from small medium enterprise. And I'm getting a lot of people asking me for tips and tricks on how they can make everything that they do remote. And I'm getting these requests from businesses that are not necessarily open yet. So you mentioned some restaurants and things like that coming back. So I'm getting calls to these restaurants, people that service providers that design and deploy networks for these restaurants, but also churches which are not really open yet, and houses of worship. They're planning for it, and that's a leading indicator. They're asking the questions. All right, we're freeing up budget now. We know we're going to be reopening in the summer, maybe the fall this year. So they're asking the questions: how do we plan for a reopening with the intent that, as Ted, you mentioned earlier, that the world we're not going to get back to a pre-COVID world. It will be a different world that we establish at the end of this year, and they're recognizing that fact, and they're saying, how do I plan for that future? How do I plan my IT budgets and my network upgrades really for the next time that this sort of a thing happens? And that's a request I'm seeing a lot from small enterprise and service providers that service that market.
Yeah, if I could throw my hat in the ring there in regard to indicators, just, anecdotally living my life, and I've resumed travel and things like that. We have seen airlines historically, which never really stopped, but they certainly were very much impacted. You no longer see that middle seat being blocked, or now that is free to be it's free to be sold to patrons. You do see our sporting events. I'm a big fan of baseball, and baseball's in full swing now, pun very intended. And you see 25% capacity, 30% capacity. And so those are some of the leading indicators. And even going out to dinner and being allowed back into some certain restaurants, I'm very encouraged by that. And, it's our job as technologists, guys, to help keep people safe, offer real-time data. And that helps me dive right into a segue into the questions about ARI. I'm going to start with you. So as we return to schools and hotels, these are places where there are certainly places where we do have a hybrid remote on-prem capability. Our business and your businesses are certainly that, but there are places where we are going to need to gather en masse and keep people safe. So as we return to those places like schools and hotels and places of work, how does augmented radar imaging fit into that equation? And what do your devices do, sir?
That's a great question. I think that's really what we're all about, is how do we kind of create as a new normal as possible, safety without disruption. So what we do and what we're all about is we provide sort of connected devices for ingress screening. So any point of entry into a building, a restaurant, a hotel, a school, or whatever, and take wellness readings and post those readings not only locally but up in the cloud for big data analytics. So if it's a vaccination clinic that we're rolling out with DO, some federal agencies, or if it's enabling sports events to happen, we're that ingress screening place that allows us to gather all that data, put it up into the cloud, and start turning, instead of single point entry information into real information, so I can start to see trends and comparative and predictive analytics on what's happening. So I can sort of put a barrier around, where I trust to be and where I know is safe to be. And how do we enable all those events, all those hotels, all those airports to get back with volumes of people? And schools and vaccination clinics and hotels are just great examples of places that we're deployed at today.
Got it. So let's help the folks at home understand, the device itself. I've been into different buildings, and each business and has their own philosophy on allowing people to come in. Typically, we'll get stopped, and a human will have to, with a triggered device, scan my forehead or my wrist, what have you, to really inform them what my temperature is, and then I'm brought in. How is ARI different than not only just the human factor of I've got to touch every scan and have a human to monitor this, but how are you different technologically in that aspect?
That's a great question. So our device at the most simplest level is validating wellness at a distance, at a safe distance. So we look at wellness characteristics, things like temperature, respiratory rate, and heart rate, and we'll measure them at a distance. And it's all about fast, accurate, consistent, and safe screening. So instead of having at the hospital where you have 5 people barrier and entry into the place and ask questions and touch people with thermal imaging devices or thermometers. It's about automating that process, getting it more accurate, and creating safety and sort of taking all that information and putting it in one place. So it's really a connected device that leverages a bunch of different technology. It's not just a thermometer. It's a device that has what we call multi-sensor fusion. We have a number of different sensors, whether it's vision sensors, whether it's thermal imaging, thermocouples, radar. We leverage all those different sensors to be able to understand your core temperature, your real heart rate, your real respiratory rate, as opposed to just your skin temperature after you've cooled off in a certain environment.
Got it.
Fast, accurate, consistent screening. It's all
Very
about
cool.
safety.
All right, so we've got these awesome, just really cool devices that can do so much more than just a temperature scanning, and now we need transport for that. Okay, so Daran, I'm bouncing over to you, brother. Because Ted is talking about real-time data and the power of the cloud and many of these devices being out there. We heard in the last 12, 13 months, COVID hotspots and things like that. So if there's trending data out there of, okay, this area or this county or this region, this building may be a COVID hotspot, if you will, they're going to need a solid network to run off of to share that real-time data. So explain to the folks at home, Daran, just like I did with Ted, how does Cambium Networks play into that equation, and what do you guys do?
Yeah, so I like Ted. I love that description, and I'm as you were talking, Ted, I was sort of mapping that to my own experience and my son's experience. My son's 14, going back to middle school, and they have him fill out this form every day. It's an online form, and then this dentist has a different type of form, and somebody else has a paper form. Ted, I deal with probably 4 different types of forms each week to collect this kind of information. And I quite frankly, I can't keep track of it. So as you're talking, I'm listening, I'm thinking that would really simplify my life quite a bit if it was automated. But Zach, when you look at what are these hotspots need, anybody needs this connectivity. Qualcomm made a comment in their Q4 earnings report in 2020 that just a few months ago. They talked about the transformation, the enterprise transformation in the home has a big impact on their business, and I just had to borrow that, and I have to steal that from them, give them credit for it because they said it first. But we're seeing that. We're not only seeing that enterprise transformation in the home, we're seeing it in the clinics, at remote clinics. If you have a hotspot, one of the things that you're seeing with the pandemic responses is the ability of governments and entities to create these points of response. And they're doing this where the need is, and they're going into the rural areas. They're going into these small facilities. They're doing this in India. They're doing this in the United States. This is going to happen all over the world. This ability to create these quick response teams and go out there and do this. Cambium does that. So Cambium builds the technology we build is quite vast. Actually, there's a huge range of technology. It starts from outdoor, fixed wireless broadband. So we have technologies that go up to 250 kilometers. Or super high speeds at 300 meters. So very high speed outdoor wireless. It really is. It's wireless. It's like wireless fiber. We're giving that kind of speeds up to 7 gigabits per second wireless. Wireless is nice because you can set it up in a day. It doesn't require extensive infrastructure planning. It doesn't require extensive installation deployment. We also have the tools, the software tools, so that you could sit in the comfort of wherever you happen to be, wherever you are, that's your enterprise. You can design that network remotely, go out and do the deployment, set up these high-speed links, drop that signal inside the building through Ethernet or other technology, and then use enterprise Wi-Fi inside the building. So we can set up these pods, and that's what people are doing with our technology. They're setting up these these response teams using Cambium's technology to do that. And so we can set up high-speed links for remote clinics. We can set up Wi-Fi hotspots centered around public buildings, libraries, schools, public parks. And so this is the technology that we do. And the great thing is we've been doing this for many years. This is not new to us. So it just happened to be a new implementation, a new application for the technology that Cambium's already been building.
Nice. So when I look, Daran, and I'll keep the question same back to you. I look at some of these massive enterprise manufacturers who you need an IT team or staff. Just you talk about your wide swath and portfolio from 250 kilometers down to 300 meters, and if I got those metrics right. But talk to us a little bit about the very places you talked about, clinics, dental offices, things like that. The dentist may be the IT guy, and you don't have a team of people to do that. How are you guys helping, and why does Cambium make it simple?
I tell you that's a fantastic point, and I've been saying this quite a bit. People are asking me how can we make everything remote? And that means they don't want any equipment. They want the minimum infrastructure on site that they can get away with. And that actually plays to the strength of ARI solution as well. When you have that integrated solution, same thing with Cambium, you have this integrated enterprise Wi-Fi solution that is 100% cloud. Now, what is cloud? It's a word we've been using that word for a long time. Everything seems to be in the cloud. Why? And it's not about money. People say, oh, cloud is cheaper. Well, let me tell you why cloud. Cloud never sleeps. Cloud is up 24/7. Cloud is redundant. Cloud is backed up automatically. Cloud has redundant paths. It's secure. It's designed to be secure. That's what cloud is. Everything you want your IT network and infrastructure to be in the cloud. Redundant. Cloud never sleeps. So when you go on premises, on site, because unfortunately we do have to have things on site. Restaurants have to be on site. Dentist offices, somebody has to clean my teeth. So when you go on site, you want the equipment there to be fully enabled, provisioned, adopted, completely managed from the cloud without putting a controller or a device on site to do it. That way the IT guy can do his work remotely. He doesn't have to go on site to analyze the network, to see if there's issues, to troubleshoot. He can do everything through the cloud remotely. Cambium has been doing that, and so the nice thing, what the pandemic has done is it's really exposed this advantage to our larger audience that Cambium already has. So that's cool. That's how we're helping people. Make everything remote.
And really that management platform, and I've had my hands on it. I have a sales and marketing role. They don't let me touch too many of the buttons in the IT group myself. But looking at the platform with CN Maestro and working with our engineering group, really simple platform, single pane of glass. You guys have done a really excellent job there. So Ted, let me lob a question over to you, sir. You've obviously had your products out in the market here, and talk to us about what are some of the best practices or applications you're seeing for this? Are there any gotchas or things to look out for when people embrace this ARI technology? Are there any gotchas, and what have people's user experience been like thus far?
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions there. Let me try to capture them. First, I want to come back to Daran, because I think what we're talking about is really both sides of the coin here. There has to be really great, easy, effective, efficient, fast network to run this new health infrastructure, wellness detector type solution that folks like Bill Gates and everybody's talking about on the news. We need to be able to get all this information everywhere, from everywhere, across really great, efficient, scalable, cloud-based managed networks. So on my side of the coin, there's before we talk about very specifically best practices, it's trying to understand what the use cases are. And there are best practices for each of the use cases. If you look at one of the use cases is a high volume traffic area. Daran talked about India and the quick response teams. We have devices and teams doing that with vaccination clinics all across the country, or colleges and high schools bringing in a lot of students in a very short period of time to come into class and leave class. That means you need a number of devices. So you have to understand sort of the volume of people that need to be screened, map that to the capacity of the devices that can screen them, and then map that back to your network. You know, the old days of 802.11b Wi-Fi running at 11 megabits isn't going to have thermal imaging going across it and huge amounts of infinite data trying to be able to predict where our next hotspots are going to be. So it's all about understanding the use case. Again, high capacity, high volume traffic areas, I'm going to need really advanced Wi-Fi technology and infrastructure to support what we call the healthcare infrastructure to enable all that. We've learned in things like, you mentioned dental offices, Daran, where we actually are, dentists were really impacted because they were the people that had to go in our mouths when everyone else was freaking out about being within 6 feet of someone with COVID. So they actually had to crawl in our mouths and clean our teeth and fill cavities and do all that stuff. So we found dentist offices, hospitals, and doctors' offices as a use case that was unbelievable. And every one of them, initially, a lot of them, especially the small dental offices, didn't have good infrastructure. So Cambium's getting a lot of recommendations when we go to those places and saying, you need great infrastructure. Once they put it in, it's simple things like you don't want to point these wellness detectors towards bright lights because bright lights emanate heat, and we don't want to confuse bright lights and elevation of heat with elevated temperature and people not being good. We typically tell people that don't have someone run up 2 flights of stairs and then expect to have a normal heart rate or a respiratory rate. So it's more about education, and I kind of liken it, and I hate to, but what we've learned, one of the things that we've learned since 9/11, beyond, you know, again, network and infrastructure, communications, and cloud scalability, but we've also learned that we still have to have a guy at the TSA lineup saying, everybody, empty your laptops, take off your shoes. Just the simple social engineering behind this has been really unbelievable, that people don't automatically think I have to go when I see a green light. So figuring out solutions, not just technology, making sure that in harsh environments, and when I say harsh, I mean heat intensive environments like India, where, you know, we're measuring ambient temperature of over 100 degrees, but we have to make sure that that's not the temperature reading of the person, because we know their core temperature is at 98.6 or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of things that we've learned, but leveraging technology is key, multi-sensor fusion with us, but the social engineering and making sure you have, you know, little simple directions and phenomenal networks behind the scenes to be able to gather all this data and leverage what we're learning and trending in comparative analytics.
Very cool. That's a great answer. And guys, just anecdotally, when I go see my dentist, it's I think two-step authentication is cumbersome when I log into my work laptop. But going to the dentist, I mean, they fall short of spraying me down with a power sprayer. And if ARI can offer a solution that brings better peace of mind to my dentist, who also shows up in a hazmat suit, by the way,
Yes.
I'm amazed he can be as detailed as he can be, all up in my mouth, as you state, Ted. If it can make that, give them peace of mind, and also, let them know who is safe to come in, who isn't, that just eliminates that worry and that step for them. Because they're also the IT guy, as I mentioned earlier.
You know, it's interesting, beyond the things that we've learned, that you would expect coming into a dentist office, going to a restaurant, going into the school with the children. One of the things that we've really learned, you talk about being comfortable, is a lot of the deployments that we've done, we thought were going to be about someone coming into a business. So whether I'm a guest coming into a hotel, whether I'm a patient coming into a dental office, or I'm coming to get vaccinated, or I'm going to the hospital, and some of the largest hospitals, well-known hospitals in the country use our stuff, is employees. So I have a number of small businesses that wanted, before they scanned people coming into the facility, they wanted to make sure all their employees felt that all their other employees were safe. So I could tell you car dealerships and dentist offices where they put in 4 units, 5 units, 6 units, and only one of them was for guests or people coming outside. The rest were to provide peace of mind, to let people know that they can come back and operate at work in a safe environment and that everybody's been screened, and it's a good, happy place to be. And it just relieves the stress unbelievably. When we put this in and you see employees getting scanned, and then you can actually see the stress come off their face. Wow, everybody's checked. We don't have to worry about the politics behind mask, no mask. Did the kids go to school? Did they not? Was somebody exposed at a sporting event? None of that. All those worries go away. So that's part of how we get back to as best as normal living as we can. It's really
that lets us worry about our handshake policy. Elbow, fist bump, handshake. we got bigger things to worry about.
Exactly.
All right. Cool. Well, question back over to you, Daran. You know, we've seen the federal government is really paying attention to the digital divide, as it was, and I liken it to a national crisis because, quite frankly, you know, there's when you look at very rural parts of America, there are people who do not have internet access at home. Tribal lands, tribal communities do not have internet access at home. So the federal government is pumping a lot of stimulus into our economy and into service providers to help them. Programs like CAF, Connect America Fund, RDOF, which is the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. In this very niche that we're talking about here with connectivity with Cambium Networks and ARI wellness detectors. Are there any federal programs that I didn't mention there, or federal programs that either of you are aware of, Daran first, that people can leverage and to obtain these technologies we're talking about today?
Yeah, those are the ones. You know, CAF, RDOF. Last year, the CARES Act provided a lot of stimulus. And people took advantage of that. These service providers were very responsive to that. Those funds, when they become available, you know, they have a time limit. They have to be executed because this need that you've identified, Zach, is not a long-term need. It's a long-term need, but it absolutely has to be implemented in short term. It has to be implemented quickly, and that's I think where Cambium really excels. So as those programs make those funds available, service providers need to be able to react quickly and set things up. And we've had people do that. So we've had in many rural towns and municipalities, they've set up these private CBRS networks and managed by Cambium with our CN Maestro solution. And then using CBRS technology to deploy a campus overlay over an entire city or municipality, and then drop that signals down into small hotspots that then serve people with enterprise Wi-Fi 6 technology that allows this higher density and higher speed networks, low latency, and things like that. So they've been able to do that with CBRS, with Cambium Networks. They've been able to do that with our higher speed 5G type technology that we deploy for these larger area networks, deploying the hotspots on top of schools so they can service the kids the students that are servicing that area, that go to that school within that geography. They're able to get access to the school's network right through the Cambium technology. A lot of these service providers have done that, and they've laid out these networks with VLANs and different SSIDs so that they can actually route the traffic to the entity that they're servicing. So they'll put out they'll create that physical layer, that RF network that overlays an area, and then they'll offer public access networks that's partly funded by local municipalities, and they'll also offer the school SSID and route that traffic, put it on private VLAN, route that traffic directly to the school network, so that the students it's an extension of the school. Those are types of networks that we're seeing deployed, and so they're using this federal stimulus money, and we expect some more. We expect more of that happening actually this year. And when they do it, when they get that money available, they have to act quickly. So that's the key message I'd give to people.
Guys, the thing I get all jazzed up on is, you know, in working with both of you gentlemen, you know, we pride ourselves on being very nimble and responsive, and that's what we had to do when this whole thing happened in January, February, March 2020. We had to adapt. We had to move forward. We had to find a way to connect our children so they could do their homework. And there are so many examples. We could spend another probably 24 hours doing a session like this, talking about those everyday heroes. I'm from the Midwest, so I liken it to a big, strong Midwestern work ethic. Just these service providers seeing many of our customers just put on their website, hey, launched a free new Wi-Fi hotspot at this school or at this district to really help out the community.
The creativity,
that's what
the creativity these guys came up with was amazing. Yeah, they had the ideas that we didn't have. So it was fantastic.
You got it. So Ted, any follow-ons from that question about any federal programs or things like that? Any purview from you there?
Yeah, I think we all talked about, and Daran, highlighted it. Some of these have short windows of opportunity, so they're temporary solutions or temporary funding that we all have to act sort of quick on. But we need to develop permanent long-term solutions, right? So I guess there's Zach, you mentioned the word nimble. We need to be nimble. So in our world, the federal stimulus packages for PPP. Our devices are classed under that. So any of our customers or partners are able to, assuming they fit within the parameters, leverage the wellness detector and solutions as part of the PPP program under both stimulus packages. So we're excited about the fact that we as a nation, the federal government understands how important this is, and these kind of venues are going to help it be more affordable. Our goal is how do we leverage temporary understanding of how horrible situation we're in, and how do we take that positive attitude that you talked, pull up our boots and create long-term solutions. Let's not let this lesson go unlearned. Let's leverage some of the PPP out there, and let's create great wireless networks, wired networks infrastructure, and put great applications so that we never find ourselves into last April again.
Yep, I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Wireless that can be set up in a day, and validating wellness at a distance. Gentlemen, time really flew on this session, and we'll leave it with a shameless plug. So Daran, you first, then Ted. How do people get more information about Cambium Networks, augmented radar imaging, and then I'll throw in a shameless plug for Wave.
Yeah, before we started here, I was chatting with Ted a little bit about some things. I told you something I always leave people with. Very simple. If you want to see Cambium Networks, you can go to cambiumnetworks.com. But I encourage you to do this instead. Go to cloud.cambiumnetworks.com. Sign up for a free cloud account, and you will never see a bill from Cambium, but you'll have full access to the cloud management system. You can play with it. You can set it up. You can create a network. Don't have any equipment, but you have full access to the full system. So do that. It gives you a good taste of what Cambium is delivering. Awesome.
And Daran, this call is being monitored and recorded for quality assurance. Did you say never see a bill from Cambium? For that,
that's what happens. That's what I've done it myself. I've been using it. So I've been at Cambium now for about 2 years. Yeah. And that's what I did. Even before I started, I signed up for an account, and I've never seen a bill yet. So we're delivering solutions. We talked a lot about fixed wireless broadband, but I do want to put in a shameless plug for Wi-Fi 6 because that's a technology that is going to shape these solutions in the future, because it is designed for efficiency and capacity, which is exactly describing the networks that we're going to see in the next decade. And so put that shameless plug in there. We're pretty aggressive on rolling out Wi-Fi 6 in education markets, now going down into small enterprise and hospitality as well.
I love it. Well, Daran, we can tell you're really passionate, and usually shameless plugs have a specific company name around them. You chose a technology medium.
I chose a technology.
Well, I love it, man. Beautiful. I love the passion. All right, Ted, how do people find out more about ARI and the great Ted Watson?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit less passionate than Daran. I'm going to just mention, come to our website, ARI-wellnessdetector.com. And obviously work with our great partners like Wave, who helps produce this and develop this great conversation we had today. We're all about enabling wellness throughout the globe. So whatever we can do to bring safety without disruption back to this chaotic world, we want to be part of. So Zach, Daran, thank you guys for the time today and the opportunity to speak with you guys. It's been a lot of fun.
Gentlemen, we are on the cusp of seeing each other in person here. I cannot wait to raise a glass to you both, but I really want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for being great thought leaders and innovators with this great technology to just get us out of this COVID muck that we have been in the last 12 to 15 months. These are some cool solutions, and I'm so glad we've been able to do this today. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks, guys, and thanks everyone for listening.